Hey there, Jen here. The lighting is terrible today. I apologize. Can't believe it went live that quickly. I'm surprised. Am expecting technical difficulties. It happened yesterday, but we will see. I'm going to go ahead and pull my channel up to see if it is showing up and make sure we don't have any problems, because wasted time is not a good thing in these days. Okay, so far so good. All right, if you're here, thanks for being here. I was going to do a short story time at the beginning of this video, but I decided against that. I'm going to try and make this one accessible and keep it about an hour, and then I will do an upload for anyone who's interested in hearing a short story time after this. So that'll be a separate upload. Hello, little monitor. Now I know who you are. I had my suspicions, but I'm going to go ahead and share a screen with you. What we're going to do today is, since we explored last time the Grand Canyon with what just happened in Texas at Camp Mystic, especially considering yesterday's video was cut short, we're going to go ahead and explore some more, because I had planned on doing Texas and Arizona and the Four Corners as well, and Montana probably anyways, as part of a series. But I'm going to go ahead and just dive in and do a little bit more of Texas, considering what happened, and just look into the history and the land there. It's important that we know where we come from and our history, and to discern which facts we're being given are actually true. Not all knowledge is valuable, because not all knowledge is truth. There are a lot of things in this world that you're told that are very fluid, right? Truth isn't fluid, it's solid, right? Okay. So truth matters. Yeah, I'm gonna share a screen with you. After saying that, we're gonna look at, it's called, this whole area, it's unincorporated. So you have a county name, and then you have like what they call it, like this nickname. So we're gonna just look at a couple little things real quick about the history of the area where Camp Mystic is. Let me pull this up for y'all. For anyone who's allowed to watch it or decides to, shame on you for constantly trying to, I don't know, it's just sad. Like, this is the one thing that I do that I feel like is kind of something I'm able to do, share bits of maybe information that you didn't have before. I feel it's like it's a niche, I try and fill a niche where other people, things they might miss, patterns they might not see. I'm trying to fill a niche and do my part as a citizen, as a concerned citizen, as a mother who loves her children very much, and I've seen the way things have went and how I've contributed to that. And so this is kind of how I'm trying to give back. And I know that might sound odd to some people, like, oh, you don't have a very big channel, barely 500 subscribers, right? But every view is an individual, and that's potentiality there. That's potential for reaching someone, or shifting someone's paradigm view to saying, wait a second, maybe money isn't the all important thing here. Maybe currency and crypto, maybe these things aren't really where our focus should be. Maybe if we focus more on our character and our moral being, those things will follow, right? We will be blessed with wealth, whatever that means, prosperity, I guess is what I'm looking for. Okay, so hill country history. I will pull up a map. This is, you see the little map here. Here's the little area. Now, I did all this in yesterday's video, but I did it in a different order. And this time we're just going to look at the history of the area first, and then we'll dive into something else after. And I do have my phone pulled up, so today if it goes offline, I'll jump back in. But I don't think that was the problem yesterday, because it looked like it was live to me. So anyways, and see, there goes that. I don't ever have that when I'm just researching, but when I'm online like this, that black flicker thing seems to happen. Let me just do this real quick and make sure. Yeah. Okay. So the hill country was rich. Now this is the beginning. This is before they named it Kerr County, I believe. So they call this whole area Hill Country, and it's now today it is Kerr County, and it's an unincorporated zone. And I was researching today before I came online. You can fact check me on this. It has a percentage of 6% of its population are billionaires. Do you know how wild or rare that is? So, for some reason, wealthy people have congregated here. Now, in the beginning of my testimony, a couple of very key people had talked about moving to Texas. These people aren't supposed to know each other, aren't supposed to be a couple, whatever. But I had mentioned how I would not go there. I wouldn't recommend that. And so I think they actually listened again. There's a lot of gaslighting happening. When you do have a niche, the devil, whatever you want to call that, will work through people and try to get you to stop doing what you're doing. And sometimes it takes a lot to keep getting up, but I have to trust that there's a reason. I am good at researching and I'm good at connecting people with each other and I'm good at finding lost things for other people. And so I'm trying to hone all that into some kind of cohesive manner because I believe that we've been attacked by a Trojan horse from within our entire country, and everybody was asleep, not paying attention because we were so hedonistic and focused on our own individual. We had tunnel vision, right? We were focused on our own individual busyness of every day of, getting the kids to school, packing the lunches, going to work, coming home, maybe doing your own homework, making dinner for the kids, going to bed, getting up, doing it all over again, and we are exhausted by design. Um, you need to understand there is a force here working against us, and we do have enemies. But I hope that people who see this, come to find we have a common enemy. And sometimes that is within, sometimes that is our own internal demons. So it's very rare for that many wealthy people to move to Texas. I will also tell you that an inordinate amount of YouTubers, because I watch way too much crap while I'm going about my day, live in Texas. Say they do. They seem to live there. I know a lot of them live here in Northeast Ohio. I know there's a production company down the road. And again, I know Vance is like the spitting image of this kid I worked with. And I also have a video of him singing with my son that I just found from way back. They're probably not happy that I have that either. Because, plausible deniability. This is why they avoid each other in public. They don't hang out. They don't do things together. All of this is connected. And so we have to know our true history and what's actually going on beyond the media headlines. We have to have media literacy. And I believe, again, we saw a lot of messaging happening between the media in this most recent tragic event at Camp Mystic. And I don't believe as many people as they say. Um, I think some of them are still with us because, again, a lot of this is a show, but not entirely, not all of it. So, again, I'm trying to have some sensitivity in this manner as well. So, it was rich with thousands of natural springs. That's important. It provided cool, fresh water, right? Archaeologists have found evidence of humans occupying parts of the hill country for 10,000 years. And so, for whatever reason, right now, too, we have a lot of wealthy people, 6% of this area, not even all of Texas, of this area of Texas, are billionaires. That is inordinate. They must be related. Now, you're going to see this happen too with our current political paradigm. You're going to see Vance kind of rise through the ranks because everyone's going to want a fresh face and a fresh attitude and a young person. And he's from Appalachia. He is the perfect poster boy. And I'm telling you right now, he is the same. He was raised by these people. They specifically raise these children. I know because I live with them, I deal with it. They are ruthless. It is all about their agenda and their goals. And behind the scenes, there is a lot of bullying happening to get people to vote a certain way. So again, I'm warning you, I have lived with this now for 8 years, and people now are finally, I shared a video yesterday, are catching on to the fact that when you're on Facebook Messenger, you're not always messaging with your family. This is why it's important to know your family. If you're texting, know the nuances of that person, know their essence. Do they say y'all? Do they say yins? Do they use proper grammar? Do they misspell everything? Because if that's not happening, then it's probably not that person. We are being segregated into our own little areas and not allowed to go forth. And this is why I pray against those principalities. This is why I try to impart, and I don't say teach because I'm not a teacher. I'm very bad at this. I try to impart upon you the lessons I've learned in the last 8 years about passive consent and about utilizing your free will through your oral speech, right? That's really important in this time. Now, what does this have to do with our history in this area? Again, there's a lot of messaging happening. Okay, you're going to see they're tearing down the system for a reason to rebuild it, but they already have the political party and everything that's going to fill that vacuum. And you're going to see Vance and Musk, they're going to be of the same mind when it comes to AI and it comes to surveillance. They are going to be in the same mindset as far as that goes. And the sad thing is they're right in part, and people behave a lot better when they know they're being observed. We know this through the quantum physics observer effect, that things behave differently when they're being watched and monitored. And hopefully, eventually, for people, it will become a habit. And that's the problem where I'm torn with this, because in that aspect, the way that our society has gone, the directions things have gone, they're actually right about that. If people know they're being watched. But again, we've been watched since Watergate. Watergate's whole messaging, having media literacy there, they were telling us and gaining our passive consent, they were telling us that we were being surveilled. Are we still live? So, what does the history have to do with this? Well, the history is that the political party itself, the political paradigm itself, springs forth from a cult like mentality, and it's very old, and it's been here, at least in America, for a long, long time. And Russia, with the USSR and the Soviet Union and the KGB and all this stuff. So there's a reason that wealthy people have congregated in this area. This is what concerns me. We're hearing all this stuff is going on at the border, but we've seen these videos at least since Obama. If there's this many wealthy people living there, they're going to protect their investments. And, you are allowed to conceal and carry down there. So I have questions as far as this border issue even goes. How are they getting across? Because I'm sure a lot of these people have like private security and they've contracted security teams. So I have questions. Again, they want it to look like chaos, but a lot of these things, they're already buttoning down physically. A lot of the images you're seeing, again, are already old by the time you get them, just like technology ages really quickly, for example. Okay, so again, all this is connected, and the history of Camp Mystic, you need to know this is where the elite's daughters have gathered, allegedly a Christian camp where they can learn to be well rounded young women, where in the past they would learn archery. I believe they had equestrian there, that you guys work with and ride horses. Um, Fishing, rowing, just a well-rounded, but also something else is that there's also a newscaster who has a history there. And again, this is all about the show that they put on. And the sad thing is this is why they end up with no real conscience or scruples, is because they get so used to playing a character that they no longer remember. They lose their humanity. They think what they're doing is good and it's for God because they're going to monitor all these people and they're going to behave, right? But you can't force people into a set type of behavior, because you're only going to have rebellion and revolution eventually. That's going to like combust. Um, so I don't know where this is headed. I kind of lean with the Hopi prophecy. And again, our history dwells with Native American culture, the indigenous peoples of America. And I think it's wise to look to them for their wisdom and what they can teach us. So it says they hunted deer and turkey for thousands of years, gathered pecans. I read that they were good foragers. It says they were drawn there because, and this is what's interesting, they were drawn there because of oh, geez, a special stone that they used to make their tools. I believe the stone is called Edward's Chert. It's also called flint by some people, which is very diverse. You can use it for bands of spears, arrowheads, weapons, cutlery, I would assume, then all kind of things. Darts, points, scrapes, knives, others tools. They lasted a very long time, and they were easy to repair as well. The Spanish called this stone Pedernales, which means flint, and named the Pedernales River after it. You can visit this river, blah, blah, blah. Oh, another state park. So that's what's important to know about this area as well. Not only is it an unincorporated zone, but it's also, there are all these state parks and federal land that touches each other. Now, for one, David Paulides always said that it was you're not allowed to have a drone in federal land. But I've seen a lot of YouTubers doing that the last few years, so I don't know how accurate that is now. Again, this is kind of a time of lawlessness in the midst of the transition of the system, at least visibly taking a new shape and changing and morphing in front of people and in your bank accounts and in your daily lives and all these things. Okay, so there's a lot of area there that is policed differently, right? Because you have forest rangers, and also in Native American reservations, they have their own law. They're sovereign. And, I always laugh when they say they feel bad for Native Americans. And don't get me wrong, like what happened shouldn't have happened. But at the same time, they don't have to go with our government. There's a real freedom in that. And again, this is why I feel like they're the real Jewish people or Israelites or lost Hebrew, whatever. There's so many different names. Can we just stop? Whatever missing tribes, I believe they are them. But I digress. Okay, so we know that it was valuable for its fresh water springs, right? Fresh water, so you're going to have people that gather there naturally. The problem is it wouldn't take very long for you to see that an area is prone to flooding, especially when I looked at Google Maps and I saw like two bottlenecks. I don't know if they have locks like city rivers do in Pittsburgh, or just dams, or how that works. But there were these two really big, it almost looked like a muffler, like if you were to draw a diagram, like it was big and then it had like just these two, tributaries going out either end. And so I'm not sure what was going on there, but again, it's a really strange place to put a campsite or put camp buildings and whatnot. It says the Spanish wanted to build a mission in hill country for the Apaches in the 1700s. Soldiers and missionaries from San Antonio, Mexico, built a stone fort or presidio, a wooden church near what is now the town of Menard. At the same time, some of the Spanish soldiers explored the area thinking they might find silver and be able to open up a mine. They didn't have any luck with the mine or the mission. The Apaches like their own way of life too much to give it up to live at a mission. Um, and it says, oh, the Apaches. So the Apaches and other Native American tribes as far from away as Louisiana attacked the mission not long after it was built. Some of the soldiers and missionaries and some of the Native Americans were killed, and the wooden church burned down. And although many people have searched for the lost San Saba mine, no silver has ever been found in Texas Hill Country. That's ironic considering, again, all of these, that 6% of their population are is allocated to billionaires. That is an inordinate amount. Now, here you see, right here, I want you to pay attention because this is where we get into the World War II aspect. Camp Mystic, for a time, was also used by the government for a rest and rehabilitation center for troops when they came back from the war. My question is, what troops was it? Was it the American troops or the German troops? Because this area, also right here in black and white, you see on one of their own websites, has a history of having German immigrants there. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying that this is factual. And then if we also consider that Camp Mystic was then used and repurposed at the end of the war for a rest area, which soldiers absolutely need and deserve. But again, I'm asking, what soldiers? Was it the American soldiers or the German soldiers? Because we gave amnesty to American or German scientists that were basically madmen and would do genetic experimentation trying to bring about this Aryan race. And it's funny where yesterday's video cut off. If you watch it, it cut off right where I start saying how they resemble the alleged Nordic aliens. They're very tall with the blue eyes and the blonde hair. We are being lied to. The problem with all of this is deception. It's not somebody's nationality or ethnicity, okay? The problem is the deception. We were all raised that that we're speaking English today because we won the war, that we come out okay. But then we get into digging into our history and we gave all this amnesty and protection to the German people that were guilty of war crimes, the high-ranking officers that design engineers that designed these genetic experiments that carried them out as well. And we're not talking about just order takers, but order takers are just as bad. If we turn into a society of order takers today, which is where it's heading, and this is what they want, is people who just take orders and don't ask questions, we are sunk. Even if you take orders, don't you get it? I've lived in an abusive relationship with narcissists. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how well you do it. It doesn't matter how many orders you take. It's never enough. It's never good enough. And eventually it turns physically sadistic because these people are turned into power hungry, they egomaniacs. So that would be my question. It says German immigrants started coming to Texas in the 1800s, okay, which is cool. And many of them settled in hill country in towns like Fredericksburg. Many people still speak German. One very famous Texan, Chester Nimitz, was born in Fredericksburg. Nimitz was an important commander in chief in the military during World War II. And again, Camp Mystic, I'll show you, and I tried to show you yesterday, Camp Mystic was repurposed for a time for the government, and they allocated it as a rest area for soldiers, which again, absolutely fine, nothing wrong with that. My question is, I was raised as an American in a certain way, that a certain nation won the war. What is happening here? And again, God told me at the beginning of all this that there was a Trojan horse, that we were being sunk from within. And this is what you have to understand about media literacy with their messaging. We're trying to take the emotion out of it, the human tragedy, because that's what they want. They thrive on our suffering and our pain, right? We want to kind of detach from that and look at the facts. What is this area? Why do these things keep happening in this area? And why haven't they changed location? It's a real simple question, right? But then you get into digging into things and you find out that it has a very diverse history, a very strange, suspect history. It says, like other parts of Texas, Native Americans lived in the hill country for thousands of years before the Europeans came. The Spanish looked for silver in the hills, and German immigrants ranched and grew crops. Today, the traditions and lifestyles of Hispanics, African Americans, Europeans, and others have come together to create the unique character of the hill country. Okay, so we're going to move to something else. And I'll just make sure that it's sharing here. Little water, thank you. Okay, so we're going to look at this, and then I'm going to show you a couple of the current headlines, and you can make your own decision as far as how to put this puzzle together and what conclusion to come to. And it's, again, the waters are very muddy with these topics. So this is interesting. You have to understand that Kerr County is where Camp Mystic is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this place. Kerr County, again, is an unincorporated zone, which okay. So I have a little map pulled up, and I just want to show you real quick. I'll show this for a moment. And we'll go back to that because, again, there's a lot of, when you research, you have to do a lot of back and forth. Okay, so this shows you, this is Kerr County, and here's Camp Mystic, right? And then you have other camps here too. You've got Texas Lions Camp, you've got a ranch camp down here. You also have a resort over here. And this is Hunt, Camp Honey for the girls, Camp Stewart for the boys, Camp Wildemar, okay? Now, Camp Mystic allegedly is the one that everybody talks about. So we're going to leave that at that for right now and go back to, just again, think about this. This is where it's located, okay? Or if we look at this, this is what the county looks like, all right? Just so you have an idea of why I'm showing you these things. This is to familiarize you with the land and the history of this area. And then again, you can make your own decision as to how to pick apart the messaging that the media has been sending, because there's a lot of occultish symbolism that's involved in this story. All right. Twins play a really big role, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. If they allow the video to stay up, if anyone sees the video, I should go share it, but I don't know if that would work. Can I share it? Let's see if I can share it while I'm on here. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, da, 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 da. All right. Sorry, guys. I just want to make sure that things are working the way they're supposed to and share this, and then we'll look at that. So again, there's a lot of occult symbolism, especially the twin aspect related to this story. And it's important that we remove the emotional reaction. That's what they want, the human interest aspect. You have to understand, these beings that we're dealing with, and I say beings because if they were human, they've lost their humanity. The people who control the media, the people who are involved in the politics now and control the proxies that you see on television, they've lost their scruples. Okay, they don't have any. They don't have a conscience and they don't have a heart. They quite literally and seriously enjoy suffering. And so they will suck up all of our tears at this time, all of our sorrow, all of our grief. We have to try and set that aside and look at this place as a whole and the history of it and how it came to be and why, if it's flooding all the time, there's a history of flooding here, why it's still happening. And I also found a place about an hour away called Enchanted Rock, which we'll look at probably in the next video when we do a Let's Explore video, because I want to know more about that. Ira Kennedy wrote a book about the Enchanted Rock, and it's only about an hour away from this spot, the Bering Sinkhole. Now, I have something I'm going to show you next. There's a reason I'm bringing this up. It says, archaeologist emerges right here from the entrance to the Bering Sinkhole. Nice little pyramid there. He is standing on a ladder. Another ladder stretched across the entrance provided a convenient spot on which to set equipment on the way up or down. So this is him going into the sinkhole. Plan, view, and profile drawings of the Bering Sinkhole when work began in 87. I think 87 was also one of the years that it flooded. And again, I have that to pull up in just a moment. Bering sinkhole in northwestern Kerr County is a natural sinkhole that was used as a cemetery. This is, I'm gonna do a stronghold here, and I'm gonna make a leap, and I'm gonna provide proof. It was not as well. It became a cemetery. It was used for sacrificial rites. Everybody knows the history of the Mayans and the Incas. Well, it was not limited to just their tribes. Okay, we have a history of this. Even Christ, everybody looks at his death and not at his ministry and his resurrection. We think backwardsly, in a backwards manner, about these things. And so it says, it was a cemetery. Okay, it became a cemetery because of what I said. By native peoples for over 5,500 years, convenient number there, 55. From the latter early Archaic into the late Archaic periods, human remains and burial offerings from the sinkhole provide a glimpse of the health and beliefs of hunting and gathering peoples living in the central Edwards Plateau. The sinkhole was discovered by accident while brush was being cleared along the property line between two ranches in the central portion of the Edwards Plateau, about 20 miles southeast from the junction. Sinkholes are fairly common on the plateau. They form as solution cavities in porous limestone bedrocks. Okay. This is how I also know it didn't start as a cemetery. Limestone, okay, is known to be preferred as the altar stone. Limestone is the preferred altar stone, okay? So when these sacrifices were done, all you got to do is look at the pyramids, the Inca pyramids and the Aztec pyramids. I should show you my dad's chessboard that he left me. That's the one thing I still have. Well, I mean, I have other things, but anyways, it shows the little pyramid out of a turquoise stone. Limestone is known for sacrificial rites in American history. Again, I'm trying to tell you, politics is born of a cult. And if you're not careful, if they bring this new man up with these new roots, allegedly, okay, he was adopted. He is still related to everybody else that's of the political paradigm. They're all on the same team. They just act, right? That's what they do. Anyways, all of this should ring alarm bells, okay? The limestone. Now, again, there used to be a channel that talked about the MCO. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you just weren't here for that on YouTube. Mia's New Glasses and Brian Lambert. They did excellent work together. Allegedly passed in a heinous manner. She became a targeted individual, but I will say that I did not agree with the advice that they were giving, because towards the end, once they got together, they were telling people to go strap themselves to boulders in the woods when things started happening, as opposed to just, putting rubber tennis shoes on, because rubber will ground you from like a plasma storm. That's what they do again for sacrificial rites. We did this on the first channel when we looked into the story of Cassiopeia and Andromeda. When her daughter was being sacrificed, they chained her to a stone. This goes way back, okay? And there's also a second Stonehenge that was put up in the last decade, in this era, right near Camp Mystic. All of this is connected. It is not coincidence. These wealthy people are into the occult. It brings them their wealth and their Happy Meal toys. But at what cost? Look at Madonna today. Look at Billy Ray Cyrus today and his children. Look at where it ends up taking you and how broken it will make a person. And again, I'm trying to weave together or paint a picture for you on how all these things are connected. And it does matter. Truth matters. Because once you accept one lie or deception from the media, once one little who cares about that? It's just one little lie. Then you start accepting more outlandish and more outlandish things. Again, just like the CIA director once said, you don't know what is true. And that's where they want America. They want us not knowing what is truth. Truth stands on its own, but you do have to dig for it sometimes, because they will hide it, they will bury it, Don't you get it? We bury everything that is dirty or sinful or that we want to hide and cover up. So we bury it, right? Just like they bury truth, just like they bury bodies. This did not start as a cemetery. It was a place where they did sacrificial rites. Sinkholes can also cause flooding. So let's continue reading. The sinkhole was discovered by accident while brush was being cleared. Sinkholes are fairly common on the plateau. They are made of limestone, porous limestone. In this case, the landowner found an oval-shaped opening measuring 7 by 12 feet from which a dead tree protruded. Beneath this was a dark hole that proved to be a vertical shaft filled to within about 10 feet from the surface. To satisfy his curiosity, the landowner used a track hoe to probe into the fill from the opening above. Animal and human bones and several Indian artifacts were found in the soil removed from, and it says Indian, this is older, so indigenous person. Artifacts were found in the soil removed from the sinkhole, prompting the landowner to contact area universities to find someone who could examine the finds. As a result, archaeologists from Texas, okay, so they conducted hand excavations, being very careful. They weren't using any tools. This is why the ladder, they probably had to lay on top of that at first as well. So it prompted the landowner to contact the universities, and they did this from between 1987 and 1991. That's important because in 1987, if my memory serves, I'll show you in a moment, that is when there was another flood at Camp Mystic. So again, we have all of the makings here for a rich, diverse area. You've got fresh water, right? This is where people will want to settle because there's fresh water and there's nothing wrong with it, right? It's springing forth from a natural well and natural springs. And so it can sustain a community, a small community. You'd want to stay close to that, but again, not so close that you're going to soil it or corrupt it. So you wouldn't be super, super close to it. We've lost something when it comes to wisdom as far as the way we plant and the way we grow and the way we build. We've lost some basic common sense when it comes to some things. But that's not what this video is about. So it says below its shaft entrance, it opens into a larger chamber, 12 by 40, at least 25 feet deep. 2/3 was filled with natural sediment. The sediment contained human remains, animal bones, artifacts including apparent grave offerings, and tool-making debris that may have washed in from the surface around the sinkhole. The human remains were found within various fill layers. Most were scattered and did not appear to have been placed within grave pits. They were sacrifices. That's what they believed in back then. If they had too much rain, if they didn't have enough rain, if they needed to placate the god of the crops. This is why pantheons, God does have a hierarchy. And I don't care if you call it a pantheon or a hierarchy, it means the same thing. It can become corrupt. Any being that you worship without question can become narcissistic in nature, can become tyrannous. And do we need to worship? Like, what is our aspect? How do we look at that? Right? There is a true God. And worship is where you spend the amount of your time and the amount of where your heart and your mind is. If we go back to things like this, or if we allow things like this to continue, what does that say about us? Because in the end, all it brings is suffering. And there's proof of that. There's proof that that's what comes from that. Okay, so I'm going to show you real quickly some of the articles. Let's see if that one flood was 1987 because I'm not sure. And I'm going to share a Reddit tab. And I'm going to close the other one just for now to make sure things don't fail on my chinky laptop, but I like it because it lets me at least see things bigger. This has been a labor of love because I did everything for years on my phone. Okay, so this is throughout the years. Let me see. Can I make this bigger for you guys? There we go. This is by Marguerite Johnson. As adventuring became safe, the land enjoyed the flood. The dark afternoon and stormy evening, 10 inches of rain fell on the Guadalupe's North Fork above Hunt and 4 inches on the South Fork. Before the rains came, the ground had been almost bare with sprigs of gray grass, dry from our rainless months. So they were having a drought. As the torrents fell, they quickly swamped the high rocky ground and made ripple patterns like those on the floor of the sea. I'm curious if they, in Hunt, before this most recent flooding, were they having a drought? Because I'm really not liking the aspect of the twins. That's again, a very occultish aspect to this story is the poor twins. And again, I'll say that in Kerr County, 6% of its population are billionaires. Billionaires. And they're all cultish. Satan is the king of this world, not the earth, not the nature, not us. Money, stuff, things that rot and can be corrupted and be replaced and break. Marguerite Johnson, as adventuring became safe. I don't know where the year is for this, so I'm not liking how they copied it, but it is obviously a photocopy. You can see here, it might be a microfiche from a library because the edges are not straight, right? So you can tell that somebody cut this out of a newspaper because you can see the letter, which might be a G, on the edge of this paper. So again, media literacy, make sure what you're reading is legitimate. Okay, next morning we stopped in, and when by afternoon it seemed safe to go adventuring, we drove through the 8 inches of river flowing across the road at each dip, drove to Kerrville, and did a thorough marketing. The next flood would hold no worries, but the land had enjoyed the flood. Every shrub and tree gleamed dark, vivid green against the limestone palisades. The deer grazing in the fields looked refreshed. It will not be quite so hot again for another year. Makes me wonder. It doesn't say what year that was. Bravery of girl campers detailed by Houstonians here as a refugee party. How girls at Camp Mystic behaved like soldiers was described here today by a party of self-styled refugees from the Kerrville area, where last weekend the group lost most of its summer camp possessions under the swirling floodwaters of the Guadalupe River. Miss Anna Clyde Plunkett and daughter Miss Virginia Plunkett. Okay. There is no date on this one either. However, hold please while I do a quick search. I will pull up the years real quick just so we know that this isn't bollocks and poppycocks that we're reading here. 1987. Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. Are you guys on the right page with me here? Yeah. Okay, so this is I don't know why it's showing me weather from Minnesota. Okay, so this is a Minnesota source, but they're writing about a deadly 1987 flood scarred the same Texas county that is reeling through another disaster. So 1987 was the year it happened. Cindy Manley was a summer camp counselor in 87 when a different devastating flood scarred the Texas Hill country. The Heart of the Hills camp is on the Guadalupe River, where a massive search continues for more than 160 people who are believed to still be missing after catastrophic flooding over the July 4th holiday. Decades earlier, Manley said there was an informal system in place. When the river started rising, camps upstream would call down a warning and then get kids out of their bunks and to higher ground. Are we still live? Looks like it. So they did have their own internal system that they followed. And again, Noah also put out a warning, but I believe it was at 2:40 in the morning. I know Noah has been defunded, but that doesn't affect this current season, I don't believe. And I did read that Noah put out a warning. So during the 19, and that interesting again, if somebody wants to... Oh, I'm waiting. Get out of here. Okay. Look, stop it. Oh my goodness. I've had it. I really have had it. I'm going to go back to this tab and make sure that it's sharing still. Thanks for being here. All right. The other the other source that I just have is kind of wanting to die. 100 victims. During the flood of 1987, Manley recalled a floating canoe injuring camp director Jane Ragsdale. But Ragsdale, 68, was among more than 100 victims who died in the flooding that began on July 4th, many of them in Kerr County. That was on July 4th, too, as well. It was the same year. I don't like that at all. I'm going to get out of that because it's trying to mess up my... There we go. All right, let's see. So that's weird. They expect us to believe that both of these floods happened on July 4th. I don't like that. That's really weird. I mean, it's more than weird. All right, we'll try this again. I just want to get the years. No, before that. Before 2025. This is what happens when you research. But I want to make sure I get an accurate date on those newspaper clippings for you guys. Hold on one second. Did Camp Mystic flood? While no one at Camp Mystic died from the 87 flood, unlike the dozens that died in the tragedy over the weekend, 10 teenagers were killed when a bus and van washed away near Comfort, Texas. Okay, so here's what you need to understand too. When I showed you the map, right? All of these camps are along the river. It's the same monster. Like, it's all the same area. It's the same county. It's the same group of... Now, they might be owned or run by different people. Some are boys camps, some are girls camps. And you heard me say that they used to have a system in place. Cindy Manley, who was there herself, she said that the camps upriver would call ahead to the camps downriver and say, hey, it's get out, get out. Especially if somebody was sleeping or it was nighttime. And so they did have a system in place. You have to understand, all these camps are on the same river. So just because it said, while no one at Camp Mystic died, 10 teenagers were killed right near Comfort, Texas. That's just one of the other campsites. It's the same area. And my problem is it's all in the same county. And my problem is they've done nothing to fix the problem. It should be a problem for you as well. City planners aren't doing such a good job in this town, I wouldn't say, no? And we've talked about how they're involved in all this too. Everything is designed. Like, I can't even... Once you wake up all the way, it's kind of horrifying when you see how everything is connected. They want your whole life to be orchestrated. Like, how are you supposed to find God? How are you supposed to find spirit? You know, and we allegedly civilized all these native indigenous people, but they were so much... they could feed themselves and they could grow their own food, and they were in touch with the weather. They didn't need an app. They knew when it was going to rain. And they were thankful. They were very grateful to the earth and the animals for sustaining their bodies. And now I speak like this and you're probably laughing, or somebody somewhere is laughing, because again, these children, our newest generation of orphan children, in the past it was orphan trains. Now it's like the drug epidemic has taken this entire generation X, almost the entire generation, from the children, and all the children were raised by the grandparents or they were adopted. And if that didn't happen again, I believe this is all by design. So certain people are separated by design because they don't want you to have strong familial ties, not through love. If they adopt you, it's different because they can raise you like a militant almost, right? Like you're not actually in the military, but they can raise you with a military mentality. And then that removes heart from the picture. And you have people running around. Again, you want an ordered society. You're not going to have an ordered society if people don't have morals. And they're not going to be able to pull their morals from the government because it's an entity. It's not a feeling, living, breathing, soul. I don't know how to explain that any better. So this has happened before, in the past. It says this was caused by Tropical Storm Barry, and I call hogwash on that. I'd like to know, there's also a reservoir there. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple more things because I would like this installment to end, but I have to show you a couple things real quick before I end this video. Now we have to come to the current media about this, if I can get there. All right, so I'm going to show you something real quickly. We talked about this area in Texas where all this happened being rich in limestone. So I'm going to show you something real quick. I feel like Fire Marshal Bill. Well, I'm going to show you something, but I'm going to show you something real quick. The Great Pyramid was originally finished with highly polished white limestone that made its surface smooth and so reflective of the sunlight that ancient Egyptians called it Ayket, meaning glorious light. Why is that important? Well, if you look at the Mayans and the Incans and their pyramids, they were also very, they were limestone-y. They were made of granite and limestone and things of that nature. They also actually had, though, altars on theirs, and steps. It wasn't flat like that. Like, they had steps. And we know by them telling us and by their recent history that they believe in sacrificial rites, human sacrificial rites. Why am I showing you this? Again, follow me. This area, there is messaging in the media. This area is rich in limestone, the Palisades limestones. Now we find out it has a sinkhole, all right? I'm going to show you that that sinkhole was not a cemetery like they were telling us, and that I was correct in saying it was where they put sacrifices. They sent them down that shaft. But I got to get to it real quick. Hold, please. Thank you for your patience. So I'm going to show you this. Make sure that it's sharing. Let me get a sip of water. Spring water, best for you. There we go. Okay. Ancient altar found in Guatemala jungle, apparently used for sacrifices, especially of what? Children. Say, I don't know, 8, 9 for girls is the age of reason. Okay. That means that some purity, some innocence will leave you after that point. Now, this is an altar found in the Teotihuacan, sorry about that, culture at the pre-Hispanic heart of what became Mexico, was discovered in Tikal National Park in Guatemala, the center of Mayan culture, demonstrating the interaction between the two societies. Guatemala's culture and sports ministry announced this week. The enormous city-state of Tikal, whose towering temples still stand in the jungle, battled for centuries with the Canol dynasty for dominance of the Mayan world. Okay, that might not be enough to convince you that what we're looking at is some type of sacrifice. All right, so let me get something else for you. Here we go. Previous flooding, we looked at that. Oh, gosh, heaven's sakes. And again, I opened this yesterday and showed everybody, but with what happened, Now I gotta close a couple things. Give me a moment. Come on. I gotta wait for this to open. Now I'm gonna show you more about the Mayans. And again, I'm we're gonna end this with a current article, with a current time link regarding Camp Mystic. Come on, man, with the pop-ups. Let me show you guys this. This is from Forbes. Skulls analyzed. Oh, come on. Gotta be kidding me. Skulls analyzed from the Mayan sacred sea note that show human sacrifices were sourced from far and wide across Mexico. That's all you need to know there. We're going to look at this real quick. What is the sea note? Because it relates to the sinkhole, why I was showing you the sinkhole, and why I said they're lying. That is not a cemetery, or at least it didn't start as a cemetery. It ended as a cemetery because they were all sacrificed. Here we go. A C note is a what? And again, I'm going to prove to you that the messaging you're seeing in the media is telling you that a sacrifice was committed. Probably with the twins, because they're very valued in this type of rite and ritual. All right. And again, all of the billionaires are in that club, or you don't get to be in that club. And 6% of the population are billionaires in Kerr County. That is astronomically huge. That is unnatural. That does not happen organically. All right, so a sea note is a natural sinkhole or pit formed by the collapse of limestone bedrock that exposes groundwater. These formations are particularly common in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico and were historically used by Maya civilization for water sources and sometimes as sites for sacrificial offerings. We've already established they have a lot of fresh water here. So that's why I was showing you they also have a sinkhole and limestone where allegedly they found a cemetery right near Camp Mystic. None of this is by chance. Now I'm going to show you something else just so you know I'm not lying. Oh, no. Don't do that. Are we still live? GWS. Let's see what Google tells us. Here we go. And again, the Mayans, that whole area, the border, all of that. There is a reason when the Christians came, they're like, oh, they were so mean, this, that, and the other. Just like the Canaanites, almost just like they were practicing human sacrifice. God told them to honor that area and all the bloodshed, but to cleanse the area, to consecrate it, to bless the area, just with holy water and prayers and salt, and then put a capstone on top of it, put a church on top of the old pagan grounds. This is why everybody thinks like the Catholics are wicked. We put it on top of that to cleanse the area because of all of the bloodshed, because of all of the children. And it's always been the children. And this is why they are rebelling in the way that they are now, and they're the ones running things. I don't care if you believe me or not. AI is helping them. Computer language is helping them. They are keeping families from communicating with each other through Facebook, and they're using AI bots for all of it. Ancient, and again, what you saw at Camp Mystic, the twins, all right? I've already laid all this out. If you missed the beginning of the video, you need to go back because I was building through the whole video. Ancient Maya rituals, particularly at Chichen Itza, involved the sacrifice of young boys, including pairs of twins. These sacrifices were likely tied to Mayan mythology, specifically the story of the hero twins, Hanafu and X Balonque. I don't know how to say that, but the X is in front of it, and their descent into the underworld. The discovery of multiple sets of twins and other closely related individuals among the sacrificed children suggests a selection process based on biological kinship and mythological significance. Didn't Beyonce have twins? She's into that Aruba, isn't she? And the other lady just joined because she wanted more money, and they were probably pressuring her. We're going to look at the little girls and see what we can find. Oh, that was my back. Yeah, it says something is challenging those earlier notions that now they believe it's mostly boys. And again, I don't believe anything that's been put out in the last 5 years. If it's not older than 2018, I honestly don't care. I know that people from like the 80s and 90s, they actually researched. They were real people who went out and did the footwork. I learned from a lot of them. You know, there are a lot of centuries of shedding light on their family lineage. Yeah. Now, yeah, the last couple of years they're saying boys, 24 and 25, but that's not, again, everything is opposite. That's not true. The woman is the one being attacked right now, the female. And I'm not in line with feminism either. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be part of any of these groups. I'm just saying from experience and what I've seen around me and people in actual people in society, not just what the television is telling me. Women are losing in court with custody cases. Women are the ones who are being jailed, falsely accused. Women are the ones being removed from the picture because why do you think they asked? They asked months before the case ever happened. And I did a video on it. You can go see. It's towards the beginning of this channel. They wanted to see how moral and ethical people thought it was to allow comatose women to be surrogates. Who was going to rent out this woman's body? Who's going to get paid for that? And where are you going to find this overabundance of comatose women? I want answers to these questions because we have a whole lot of missing people that nobody seems to give a darn about because they have money and posh lifestyles. And I don't care how harsh that sounds. It's the truth. This is what we're dealing with now. Okay, so I'm going to show you something else. This will be the last thing, I think. So I've showed you about limestone. I've showed you about the twins. I've showed you about the sinkholes. And I've showed you they have all of these things in Kerr County where this happened. And I also established that there is a history of flooding in that area. Now, the question is, was there a drought beforehand? Did they do some rite or ritual beforehand to get the rain to come? And why is the one news lady who's covering the story, she used to be an instructor there or she used to go there? Again, all of these elitists, they say that you have a fair shot in all of this, but you don't. You never did. They will never, and you should not want to be on the screen on TV with them because that means that you are acting your way through life and you're going to look back and say, I just wasted my whole life pretending to be somebody that I am not, and I have not grown any. You know, I'm still a 15-year-old on the inside. That's it. That's shattering. And this is why we're having all of these problems are attributed to the internal takeover that very few people even realize is happening yet. Systematically, America is being shut down. First, it was the fires with all the food companies. Then it was all the flooding because they let reservoirs out. It wasn't a hurricane that did it. Go do your research. They let out a lake, a reservoir on the top of the mountain. So it flooded the rivers and added to everything going on with Helene. Why do you think all these YouTubers knew when to move? So many of them used to live in New York. Now they've moved out of New York. A bunch of them live in Texas and Ohio now. Everybody knew when to move out of LA. This is a very synchronized, micromanaged, by design plan. But that doesn't mean that we have to go along with it. The moment you realize that what's going on around you and that you're being played and that you stop consenting to it and stop participating in it and stop giving it your energy, don't get mad about the politics. Turn it off. It doesn't matter. Don't vote and see what happens. You want to bet that they still put somebody in charge anyway? No matter whether 0 people vote, they're still going to put somebody as a figurehead. It don't matter. I mean, I just wish people would wake up so we can have a period of harmony and maybe people could gather in the groups where they belong, maybe this time just by choice and not by circumstance or bloodline. Because these aren't my people no more, and you're probably with people that aren't your people no more. That doesn't mean my loyalty's gone, and it definitely does not mean my love is gone. Let me be clear about those things. But I can love from afar and I can pray from afar. Okay, so that one was a chat that I wanted to show you people were having in Reddit about Camp Mystic, but stop doing that, man. I'm not doing anything. It never does that. In my area, they were also engaging in cannibalism. This is Z. I think they placed them on former sites to harness the power of the area. Absolutely. I have no faith in organized religion, though, after what I saw growing up. Yeah, organized religion is a big problem for me, too. I try to participate, not part, I don't even participate. I don't know what to call it. My soul needs the confession. Like, I need that. And I need to go to a place where other people believe. It has nothing to do with the institution. It has nothing to do with, you know what I mean? Like, I need to be with other people who believe, with other people who are praying. Just that. Z also says they also do weather modification. Yeah, I know. Cloud seeding. See, weather modification, and I'll lose viewers for this, but I'm going to be real. I'm not going to give man credit for things that God is in control of. All right. Do I believe that we have, we can cloud seed and things? Sure, I do. But in the end, the weather is the weather. Like, nature is nature. We cannot tame like, doesn't it, how many movies have you watched where man tries to tame nature and it goes so badly? Or where man tries to put robots in charge and it ends so badly? How many times do we need to be warned? How many? We cannot control nature. It cannot be allowed. I pray and I beg, you know what I mean? And I'll get what I ask for in my little area. But in the end, it's not us doing it. And it's very important to remember that distinction. That is, pride comes before a fall. This is why America's in the position it's in, because we think we are the end all be all. And that may or may not be true. The problem is that we think that. Like, that's a problem. That's a problem in thinking. Good leaders are the ones who don't want to lead. Good leaders are the ones who know that they mess up and immediately try to fix what they've done wrong. Good leaders admit when they're wrong. Like, we have none of that in the proxies that they're showing you. None of that is real. And the second you start thinking man can control weather is the second it goes badly in every movie. I, Robot, ask Will Smith. And I Am Legend. He'll tell you. And I know they're movies, but how many times has that happened in real life when we think we can live on a cliff or on the side of a cliff where the ocean is because it's so beautiful and we want to live there and we're going to put our house there. We're going to be the king of the hill until erosion hits and our house is in the ocean. We do not control weather. We might be able to cloud seed and to make a few little things happen, but we do not control nature. Because the second you start thinking that is the second the hierarchy in your head, you're thinking wrongly and you're allowing this place to affect you too much. With all due respect, Z. I didn't mean to like go off on a tangent, but when you come to this channel, I will give you the unadulterated truth. And if I mess up, I will tell you I messed up. I try to be more, I don't even want to say feminine, like this is just me. And if I don't know how to get things across, but I'm trying to be gentle. But we don't have time for gentle anymore. We don't have time for people who mince words and play all these word salad games. Like, there's no time. Our children are a wreck. They're a wreck. I don't care if they think it or not. They're a wreck. Harming other people for fun is bad. It's not good. And these are the people that are now going to be in charge of things. Z, I understand them very well, which is why I'm trying to show you all this. I live with these people. My spouse has tattoos of Baphomet. I know that being very well because I swear it resides inside of him. Come on now. When I tell you all I'm being abused, it's not for my liberation, really. Nobody's going to save me. It's to save you. These people are violent. They're vile. They don't care about you. And my husband will say, oh, it's just for show. It's all imagery. You've been to jail twice for harming me. It's not all imagery. I don't care what he says. So again, I understand these people way too well. I live near the JD Vance lookalike. I am convinced it is him. Okay? Because JD Vance's hair and the black eyeliner and the fake little 5 o'clock shadow. I've worked with him. They all spell their name wrong, just like penguins with a Z and the zero. And my one son uses the Z instead of the S, and this son uses an E instead of an EA. And the kid I'm talking about, the JD lookalike, uses a Y instead of an IA. And it's just Damien, just like the Omen. I'm telling you. I've lived with these people for 30 plus years, and I just woke up 8 years ago to the fact that they are wicked and that they are nefarious and that they are sadistic. They enjoy causing pain. And everybody's going to see this JD Vance character and assume he's new and new blood, and oh, let's all vote for him. And it's going to end very, very badly. I've showed you the video games they all play. I've showed you how wicked those things are. I won't be sidetracked from where I'm at here, where I dwell. This is the stuff the Lord asked me to expose, even to my own detriment. I've been greatly outcast for talking about these things. I can't work in this town. I can't get a job. And it's not because I'm lying. It is because I'm being honest. It's because I'm not going along with the program. And how much you want to bet? 10 to 1 that some of those girls, some of those people from Camp Mystic are still alive, and you'll either see them as politicians in 5 to 10 years, or they're being held for something else on the 14th, because the 14th is Bastille Day. That is the day you want to watch out for next. Everybody said, oh, nothing happened on 4th of July. Yeah, something happened. Something happened. A big something. The technology they develop is very real. Oh, yeah, it is very real, but I'm done crediting that, because the next thing people are going to say is, oh, you don't actually talk to God. It's V2K. It's God voice to skull. I'm not going down that road, people. Does the technology and the surveillance stuff exist? Absolutely. And some of it's sentient, is what people fail to understand. God's angels has many eyes. If you put that together in your mind the proper way, that's a camera. That's a surveillance camera. I am exposing a whole lot here. I'm not going to be sidetracked by these freaking toys they have. I don't care what toys they have, because God is bigger. I will pray their toys away. I will pray the radiation or whatever away. You need to understand that God is higher, because a lot of these people, they can't protect themselves with technology, right? Like a lot of people they can't afford it. Y'all can't, I can't afford it. I can't afford to protect myself with high-end toys. So it's prayer and meditation and grit and self-discipline and good health and practices, and I fail every day. But every day I think of something new I can do to do a little better the next day, and I hope that I do better. Now I'm going to show you one more thing, because again, I showed you that twins are important to these people in their rights and all of this. So here we go. There is some occultish numerology that goes along with this story. We have 8-year-old twin sisters, Hannah and Rebecca, both biblical names. 8 years old. That's 2 8s, 88. Again, the speed of time travel, right? And Trump and all this, the littlest Trump and the last Trump, and how he has this time machine. Funny. 8 is also the infinity symbol to, never end, eternally, right? So that's a very occultic number, this 88, and they're both twins. Like, that's really all you need. And the twins represent in rituals, just so you know, they represent the 2 pillars. The pillars are the pillars of your consciousness, the right part of your brain and the left part of your brain. That's why watching that video over and over again of the towers fall can affect you subliminally, and you have no concept of that. This is why a lot of these people, a lot of these true witches who practice the craft, become psychiatrists and psychologists because they want to tinker with your minds. Hypnosis is not the way to go either. Do not mess with binaural tones. They are messing with this video, so I'm going to shut it down now. I love you. God bless you. Please come back. If you don't understand something, please ask a question or go back and watch the beginning. I laid it all out pretty simplistically as far as I understand it to be. You can think what you want to think. Whether you accept or receive this as truth is up to you. May God bless you and keep you. Please pray for all of these people who lost their lives, regardless of whether it happened, it didn't happen, or if it was worse than they say. Still, pray for these people in this county. Obviously, something's going on there. Even if it all is a facade, they need your prayers more than, okay? Because they're deceivers and they're not going to go to a good place. I love you all. Remember, all it takes is one compromise, one deception, and you're into a snow. You're living a life you don't even, just like Labyrinth with Jennifer Connelly. And we're going to get into some more odd topics like that too, because again, it really explains the parallels of what we're experiencing here with these two divergent paths that seem to be opening up, just like the Hopi prophecy spoke of, that some people would go down the road of technology and some would not. And it talks in a lot of the same language as the book of Revelation, John's apocalypse in the Bible. And if you've ever read the Quran also highlights or parallels a lot of the events in the Christian Revelation book as well. So we have to ask ourselves, if I were Satan and I had the book of human history in my hands, I would take a piece and throw it to every nation. And then I would make sure all of those people were arguing so nobody read the other person's bit, so you never had the full story. Just a little food for thought. God bless you. I love you. Watch for the upload. I'm going to do a short upload about a story time about an experience I had at the park this morning with Sam. It's just to cover and protect him, just in case, so people know I'm still aware, I'm still paying attention. God bless you. I love you. Have a great day.